Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Points. I'm your host, Syed Niaz Ahmed. In our studios today, we have a prominent journalist, editor of Weekly Surma, and former Deputy Press Secretary at President's House, Bangladesh. None other, Mr. Shamsul Alam Litton. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
And we have virtual presence of Dr. Kanan Purkayastha, a well-known writer on scientific matters, and he is scientific advisor to local government here in Britain. Today is the 18th day of, shall we say, war, or shall we say conflict. It has probably not been described as war as yet, but it goes on. The ravages of a conflict, an armed conflict, an aggression goes on. But in the beginning, I would like to read you out a poem by a Palestinian poet, Muhammad Darwish. The war will end. The leaders will shake hands. The old woman will keep waiting for her martyred son. That girl will wait for her beloved husband. And those children will wait for their heroic fathers. I don't know who sold our homeland, but I saw who paid the price. This is the stark reality of any war, any skirmish, any flashpoint. People die. To what end? It is for the historians to find out. We journalists only report and muse about it. Only today, an American journalist who used to write for New York Times was killed, shot by Russian soldiers when he was trying to take pictures of refugees near the capital. Welcome to the show, sir. Since you are here for the first time on this show, I would like you to introduce yourself properly. Probably my introduction was very brief.
No, thank you very much. Thank you, Niaz bhai, for inviting me in
It's an honor
in
to
your
host
show.
you.
Yeah.
I've known you for such a long time, but সময় হয়নি যে আপনাকে দেখার সময় হয়নি, আপনার কাছে সময় হয়নি যে এই ক্ষুদ্র প্রোগ্রামে আসতে পারে।
Oh no, it's a great program. It's a great program and it's going 10th year.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
In London. In a Bengali media is a really a great history of a program which is continuing 10 consecutive years. 10 years. It is not is just.
It's not without your support, the support of the media community in London, and also support of my colleagues and my bosses at NTV.
I can say it's really a good show. As you have huge experience on media, on teaching, on journalism, and you are working in Saudi Gazette and leading newspapers in Middle East, and you are a regular writer of Guardian as well. So, as a journalist, as you became a broad.
Litton, we were talking about something. A bit of your past.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was my opportunity to work with my president as a civil capacity because I was in
What was the name of that
public
president?
media. Yeah.
Mr. Doja, Dr. Doja?
No, it was Professor Dr. Yazuddin Ahmed at the time, and I've left President's office at 2005 for an academic program in United Kingdom. So, and later I have started my career in London as head of news in Bangla TV, one of the oldest television
I remember.
ethnic TV in London. So that is my, and now I'm working as the editor of Weekly Surma, one of the bilingual newspaper which published since 1978. So it is 43 years.
Do you have a print edition or?
Yeah, print edition and online edition both.
Great.
So this is what it is. Yeah.
Right, sir. Dr. Kanan, are you there?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's great to have you again. You have been very kind and you have always supported this program. Uh,
Thank you.
I know that you do not delve into politics, but this is something very serious, and this also involves the bacterial war and the nuclear war and a lot of other things as you see are being involved. So today they said that the Russians have used the phosphorus on somewhere near Polish border. Have you come across that news, and what is your take on that?
Yes. First of all, I say what I'm saying today is my personal capacity, not the
Sure.
organization that I work for. You know,
Could you
but
increase the volume, please? The voice is very low.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's fine.
I can hear, yes.
Yeah. Now it is possible because organophosphorus compound is one of the important ingredient for this chemical weapon, the chemical weapon, and Russia has got that, because if we look at the Skripal case or this Alexander Litvinenko case that in UK, here the government laboratory and others, they have analyzed the chemical that is used, and when this USSR, their chemical weapon research program was gradually dying stage in 1990s. It has been found that hundreds of different formula, chemical formula, that are out of that, 3 is now very predominantly using by different warfare, and they are actually going inside the bomb or the shell inside as a powder, and now it has got a different name now. It's called A230. A230, A232, and A234. Now these are all the mixture of different chemical used under different conditions. As for example, if the temperature is very, very low, then some chemical can solidify quickly. In that case, there are new formula developed by Russia, and here in UK analyzed using GCMS, gas chromatography mass spectroscopy. When you remember the Salisbury case about this Sergei Skripal, and Sergei Skripal's file has now been published, and so we know what has happened there. We know this data. So there is a possibility, because it's now more or less a cold atmosphere in Ukraine. So there is a possibility they are using A230, which is some kind of powder going inside bomb or shell, and then when
how harmful and how much of devastation can it cause?
Yes, it is harmful because it's an organophosphorus compound, and it can cause a lot of blisters, because what will happen when it hit the target, and it will create some sort of fumes, and that fumes is like an aerosol compound, aerosol, and it can spread quickly. So this is the A230, but it is less harmful than A232, because A232 has got a saline, another highly toxic substance, which has got a carbon, hydrogen, fluorine, oxygen, and the combination of this compound, because there is a long list of compounds which are banned in this chemical convention, but sometimes when you combine something, and then you can use it and make it toxic after the
So many
combination.
things are banned, but they are used.
Yeah, they're using, and but they can use it, and they have used it in UK soil, in Britain. You remember about this 2017 Skripal case? People have found in Skripal body this chemical, and as a result of that, it was difficult to decontaminate this substance because it is very difficult to decontaminate. Then what happened? Government has taken all positions of the Skripal to an incinerator and burn
Right.
it.
Right, sir. So
Yeah.
that is a very serious scenario that this can happen, and if this happens, not many people living around Ukraine will be safe. The populations in other countries will also be exposed to the harmful effect of such blasts and
Yeah.
use of
Yeah.
phosphorus and use of but it is said that if a bomb is used and it can carry radioactive materials that can be very, very harmful and lethal, particularly if used in heavy population areas. Is that right?
Yeah, that is another
Scenario.
weapon, another weapon where they can use bomb in front of bomb,
Uh-huh.
which we call in a crude language, we call it a dirty bomb. And when they are using dirty bomb, they are basically putting cesium and strontium, cesium 60 and strontium 90. And that is known as radio, it's a dirty bomb, but it has got a radiological dispersal device on that bomb.
Right,
And-
sir. I'll come back to you about these bombs. Let me come to my other guests in the studio. Ritan bhai, why at all? I mean, there are many reasons one can think about, but why at all did this happen? We thought that in Europe we have suffered enough.
Yeah.
1945 had seen something. Then in the early 90s we had Bosnia affair, and and the leaders came, shook hands, went away. We thought peace will prevail, but it has happened again. Why at all it will happen? I mean, USSR disintegrated, and it looked at all the parties, all the small countries that were part of USSR. Well, Ukraine is not a small country, but all the other countries, they are like living happily and managing their businesses. But this suddenly happened. What do you think, so?
Yeah, there are different narratives on these issues, because you see what we are discussing just before this question. You are discussing about the chemical weapon, use of chemical weapon or chemical materials. You see, Russia has that experience just recent past in Syria. In Syria, Mr. Putin's fellow, Mr. Bashar, he used chemical weapons on his own
people,
citizen, own people. And you see hundreds of kids, they were just minor, just 6 months, 9 months, 10 months, and 1 year, 2 years. It was a big havoc. And what is? And Mr. Assad is still in power. Where is ICC? Where is United Nations justice system is not working well? So what I'm thinking, that when it is in Russia, when it is in Syria, when it is in different zone, why we are reluctant? Why we are not raising our voices?
This is a very important question, see, because we are talking about the blue-eyed boys.
Yeah.
I think again we'll need a break, and then when we come back we'll be able to talk in peace.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sir, we need to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about war and peace. Thank you. Back. I promise that we'll talk about war and peace. In that order we will. Yes, we are talking about war, why it started.
No, thank you. I was talking about Syria. because Mr. Putin and his fellow, his very close fellow in the international arena, Mr. Hafiz al-Bashar,
Yes,
if I'm not
Bashar
wrong.
al-Assad.
Bashar al-Assad, yeah, Hafiz's son, Mr. Bashar al-Assad. He used a chemical weapon on his own citizen, and there was a big disaster. And today, Europe has seen the same. And just Polish border, that means almost inside the Europe, Russian forces already used some gunpowder or some chemical explanation already. Your guest is already explaining
Yes.
the
Some phosphorus.
issues. Yeah, some phosphorus. This is also chemical. Maybe is minor, but
Yes.
is I think Russia has everything. Russia has everything, and Russia can do anything. And Mr. Putin is very tested guy for the world because he can do anything. He can do anything because on diplomatic version you can say so many things. But in Ukrainian issue, what was happened? We have seen very clear scenario. Ukraine is the biggest country, but in terms of population size, it is not the biggest country.
It's about
In terms-
44 million.
Only 44 million people. Only 44 million.
And probably the poorest country in Europe.
Yes. But interesting, their land is not. Their land is so fertile that Hitler has taken some soil from Ukraine after invasion in Ukraine, because Ukrainian land and Ukrainian people are genius. That is also, and how genius and how brave already you have seen last 18 days. It's a small country, but they are fighting to save their country. So you are saying about peace. In this world scenario, when Mr. Putin is one of the world leader, so we can cry for peace. And at the same time, United Nations, after a couple of decades, actually, where is it? Some people, sometime, who we are talking about peace. We are just always we are watching the role of United Nations, and that is the last destination for peace.
United Nations or United States.
Yeah. That is another issue, and some people are trying to support Russian aggression by different out of line activities in Afghanistan and Iraq. There are so many aggression by United States, but I think aggression is aggression. Aggression is aggression. This is full stop. If it is Israel, if it is Russia, if it is USA, that is the same definition.
The same thing, like you say, murder is murder.
Murder is murder. So nowadays you see 14,000 people killed within 17 days, and we are not sure what will be the result of the aggression, because I am not saying it is war, because in the definition it can cover war.
Yeah.
You see?
It can be clashes, it can be conflict.
Yes.
But then again, clash, there has to be two parties to clash, you see.
Yeah, just Ukrainian people, they are fighting for their survival, that's all. They are trying to save their motherland.
How do you take it when Russia says that Ukraine, we are trying to free Ukraine from
Denazification.
the oppressors?
Yeah, that is very
Ukraine is
interesting.
run by fascists since 2014, since the president was changed.
Yeah.
Pro-Russian president was changed. So how do you see that
No,
logic?
It is
Or do
very.
you see any logic in that argument?
No, it is very weak logic, because it is not befitting on the mouth of Mr. Putin, because he is more than 20 years, he is ruling the country, and he will be there next 20 years, might be or not, because more than that as well. We don't know, because they already passed the law. So Mr. Putin is prevailing decades and decades, but in Ukraine, what is going on? Mr. Poroshenko was the president, now Zelensky is the president, and Zelensky got around 80% of the vote, people's vote, and Ukrainian people, they are happy. They are happy to separate themselves by Soviet Union. So this is the story, this is the reality. So what Mr. Putin says, it is something like, sounds same Adolf Hitler's voice. Adolf Hitler's voice, just, and coincidentally he used denazification, his mission. That is also very interesting. What he is saying, actually, I think it is kicked back to him. I think he is using his word denazification by knowingly or unknowingly, whatever it is just kicked back to him, because his behavior is like Nazi Hitler's behavior, because he invaded the country and innocent people. If it is a military operation, I think that is scenario would be different. But it is not scenario, it is not the military operation. Last 70 days, he has destroyed more than 2,000 I think, buildings where hundreds of children and
Yes.
old
Also,
women, they are living.
maternity hospitals.
Yeah, hospitals, mosque, and you see, yesterday or day before yesterday, there is a mosque. It's very historical mosque because Sultan Suleiman's mosque. Sultan Suleiman's mosque, and 80 people were in the mosque, and it was destroyed. So how you can say that it is denazification or a military operation, special military operation? Is just nonsense. And today, American journalist, what he was doing, he was taking photograph of refugees. Hundreds of journalists are working now in this war field, and they are targeted by these forces. And maybe there are some in Iraq where we have seen there was casualty by American forces as well. But this war is actually it is imposed by Russia. So all the consequences have to take, all the responsibilities gone back to him.
It's also said that Mr. Putin intends to divide the country into two. Do you see any logic in that?
And he has failed, tremendously failed. There is a...
But it's only 17 days. Today is the 18th day.
Yeah, it is 18th day. Yeah, it is 18th day. And after 18th day, I can say that he is totally failed, because Mr. Putin knows that Ukrainian people, their first language, actually most of the people, they are speaking with Russian, and their lifestyle, their social relationship, there is a huge link with Russia. But I think Mr. Putin thought that it is just 10 years back where pro-Russian political forces were there. But last 10 years, what was happened in Crimea and other territory, Crimea and there are two area already occupied by a couple of years ago. After that, scenario is actually totally different. Whole Ukrainian nation, they are trying to get some pro-Moscow political leaders to take them in their city councils, mayoral system, because they are ruling by different zone, by mayoral systems, different districts. But they failed. There is no political forces, political leader is raising their voice. This morning I have seen Mr. Poroshenko, immediate past president, and he was the he competed with Zelensky, and he was just in the war field, and he was fighting with the people. So I think Moscow already failed on that mission, political mission.
Is Mr. Putin trying to, I mean, I have here a note that last year President Putin wrote a long article describing Russia and Ukraine as one nation. And he described the collapse of the Soviet Union in December 1991 as the disintegration of historical Russia. So is he, at the back of his mind, does he have something like the dream of having the USSR back again?
Yes, something like that it might be, because he was the KGB guy. So KGB, CIA, and some of the international that spy groups, what they are doing, they are living in the dream at all time, with their supremacy, with their thoughts, with their plans. So it is his personal thought, he might be, but it is his. He already wrote something that reflects his mind in imperialist mode. But I think Mr. Putin, where he lost, because he lost in the democracy, because he has fear about election, democratic process, and everything. For this reason, his opposition leader is in jail, and he was about to kill by his I think conspiracy. The world knows it already. And only for this reason, I was talking about that denazification. That is the thing actually Hitler was thinking about, to dominate whole world, just like the same way. Because the reality, how Soviet Union was collapsed, that was a peaceful political solution by Mikhail Gorbachev. Otherwise, it would be bloody political solution. Millions of people would be killed on that political resolution. But Mikhail Gorbachev was is a huge controversy, but at the same, according to my conclusion, according to my observation, he deserves that Nobel Peace Prize, because it was inevitable. It was inevitable.
But
and
wasn't it also in the interest of the Western nations, the disintegration of USSR?
No, integration means
Disintegration, yeah.
disintegration. Yeah, disintegration or integration, that is not important for Western people. Very important for Soviet people, because how they are dominating, how they are ruling, it is Communist Party. And 20th century, 21st century, Communist Party means party will lead. But where is the people? Party means some corrupt and some is probably everywhere, in Venezuela, in North Korea, in everywhere. Party means some corrupt comrades. And there you see oligarchs. Who are they? They are very close of President Putin. I think communism already gone from Moscow, but their communistic mood and communistic approach is still in the place. If Soviet people got their political right, you see every day hundreds of thousands of people, they are demonstrating against war. Why? Because this is people want. They don't want war. They want peace. And for this, but Putin is not in there. And Putin, by the name of denazification, he already exposed himself. So it will be very difficult. It will be very difficult.
Do you, Dr. Kannan?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm sure that you have been reading newspapers about all this, apart from the science and the scientific involvement. Do you think that Mr. Putin intends to divide the country into two, the pro-Russian and the people who do not like Russia? So he will have possibly Belarus, Ukraine as his part.
Actually, as far as I am concerned, he actually liked the old Soviet Union again. That is his. If you look at the last 12 years of history, last 12 years of Ukraine and political, this election in 2014, 15, 17, 19, as soon as you see this, this Ukrainian, any particular government trying to build some sort of relationship with European Union, some sort of trade agreement and other things, then there are some problem arises. And if any government want to stop that, then we can actually encourage those governments. So looking at this, the history that Putin don't want any relationship with West, European Union or NATO membership and other things. So his intention is to go back to this previous, the unity of this all Russian territory.
One big USSR.
And there is a reason for it. One of the important reasons is the scientific reason. And that reason is that the President Russia and his government knows who has got what sort of capacity. Ukraine has got their own nuclear power plant. They have got a biological laboratory as well, which actually, recently World Health Organizations advised Ukraine to dismantle all those biological pathogens, because that is what Ukraine has got.
But have they done that?
We don't know. But they have advised, and Russia knows that, because there are, when there is the USSR, across Soviet Union, 70,000 people with many laboratories, they have worked with these chemical and biological substances. So Russia knows that, and Ukraine has got that potential as well. So that's the reason Russian government, they want Ukraine back to their, back to that.
But Ukraine is one of the poorest country in Europe. Will they be able to afford? We need to take a break, and then when we come back, I will need that answer. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Come back. Dr. Kannan.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We were talking about something, and where we were very pleasantly asked to go for a break.
Yes.
Please
We are
continue.
discussing about Ukraine. In my eye, Ukraine is a very rich country because
They say
it
it's
is,
the poorest country in Europe.
but it is, in my eye, it is very rich. That's the reason the West want Ukraine under their, because Ukraine is extremely rich and complementary mineral resources in high concentration and
Yes.
also in close proximity to each other. And it has got a huge amount of coal, iron ore, natural gas, manganese, salt, sulfur. There are many mineral resources. The world, 80% of sunflower oil that we eat here is coming from Ukraine, the 80%. And so, not only this, there are corn production, everything is coming from Ukraine. The 13% of the world's supply is coming from. So Ukraine is actually, it's a rich, but it's a mixed economic system because government is regulating the most of the thing. But as soon as private sector step into it, which is the European model, then Ukraine will flourish. Not only this, the Russian, gas pipeline is coming through Ukraine. So you see, Ukraine is a very important for the geopolitical reason, and also in terms of the natural resources it has got. And it can provide the world, the whole, agricultural system. It will make the need, and it is.
But then
It
you
is
need
better
to
than
change the
Finland.
system, because if you want to take away the government control from many things, many enterprises and business and agriculture, then you will have to a change in the system.
Yeah, that's the need, and that's the reason, they try to sign an agreement with the European Union, the trade agreement in 2014, and then it was stopped by the Russia, and then there is a mass, the protest in Maidan in the Ukraine, and then the president, I forget the name, he just fled to the Russia, and then another president came, and they always try a trade agreement with the European Union, but Russia all the time trying to suppress that. And in 2019, Zelensky, the present president, he more or less, he was very interested to sign agreement, become a part of NATO, and that is one of the main.
They're not a part of NATO.
No, they are not a part of NATO, but they want to be a part of NATO.
Right.
Not only this, Finland now want to be a part of NATO because of this Russia. So Finland also want.
Yeah, they want the umbrella of defense.
Yeah.
They think that they might need.
Yeah, that's the thing actually, because without Ukraine, we are also facing problem. This gas is coming via this pipe, which is going through this Ukraine. So there's the geopolitical, commercial, the interest lie. I surprised why Ukraine don't have this sort of modern and all airplanes and other things. That surprised me. They are asking now everybody to give them. Because considering the human capital index, if you look at Ukraine is much higher. Even it's higher than Philippines.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kannan. I would like to talk to my other guests about the sanctions. Are the sanctions working? Like on Russian banks and the oligarchs and the exclusion from SWIFT system, where none of the banks can operate really without SWIFT.
Yeah, sanctions, whether sanctions are working, it's a very important question. At the same time, there are two parts of this part of this decision, because we are paying the aftermath or the effect of these sanctions, because price
We are suffering.
hikes here, and oil price and commodity price, particularly here Dr. Kannan was saying about sunflower, and wheat as well, wheat and corn. So world market is already going up, and particularly oil market will affect everywhere. This is the effect of sanctions. But what can world do? What can world do to stop Mr. Putin and his aggressor forces to invade Ukraine? And what next? Europe. And what next? United Kingdom. Because when Mr. Putin is addressing and directing his team, nuclear team, on red line, what does it mean? His first target is Paris, and next target or first target would be London. It is not Kiev. So we have to realize it. It is very important. And definitely next target is New York. So world, what is the option for the world? This is only option, because if United Kingdom and NATO engage their forces with this war, and that will be World War III.
Yes.
So,
but there's also the fear of
Yeah.
a nuclear war.
yes, it's
which
that
nobody wants.
nobody wants. And actually, you see, when in Poland, you are raising these issues that potassium and other chemical weapons are using, and a Russian guy who was spy once upon a time, and he was killed in 2017. Dr. Kannan was saying the story, and actually, Russia, it is their state policy to kill, like something Mr. Saddam Hussein did his political enemies.
Yeah.
They killed his political enemies in London, and we have seen a Saudi journalist who was killed in Turkey, very well. So
I
this is
worked with
going
him.
on. Yeah, you have very bitter experience as well. So this is the reality. So world has very limited option, and economic sanction nowadays very effective measures. Though we are paying prices, the Bangladeshi garments owner who are producer of Russian garments, and so far I know till today more than 2,000 container is waiting in the Chittagong port, because international freight owner, they are not carrying it under the sanction. So there are so many consequences. So garments worker, poor workers, they will be sufferer. There are so many side effects. This is side effects, but I think world has very limited option.
The Bangabandhu satellite too, that will not be they won't be able to launch.
Yeah, that is one thing, and so many things. And Bangladesh has Rupur project, and more than 5,000 Ukrainian and Russian workers are working there. You see, project will be held, and at the same time, there are people who are working there, more than 5,000. So what will be their life? They have family. They are working there to feed their families in living in Russia.
True.
And they can't send their money because Visa, MasterCard, and the other international
working,
all the dollar transactions are on hold. So there are so many implications, and Mr. Putin is, you see, what is according to my observation, after 18 days, the outcome of the sanction is Mr. Putin make himself actually single. You can see at all time he is single. He is speaking in a room or somewhere, he is just single. Nobody is beside him, because he does not believe anybody of his associates. So it is something similar on Second World War. You can see the scenario of Hitler, because he is not believing anybody. And sanction is really affecting hundreds of thousands of people, business people, the working people. You see, McDonald's, 7,000 people already lost their employment in Russia. So
even IKEA has pulled out of 13 branches.
Yeah, almost 99% of Western chain shop, blockchains, banking services, everything is gone, and they are asking for alternative sources. It is not very easy, because 90% of world trade is still handling by US dollar.
Yeah, isn't it for the first time that this has happened, the sanctions to this scale? I don't remember anywhere.
I think if you say last 30 years, definitely it is just
Nothing like this, you see, that
above
you can't
everything.
use the credit cards, you can't use the debit cards, you can't do the banking, and then the other interesting story about the oligarchs, you see, they are
Yeah.
being now.
Everything is stuck like Chelsea Club.
Yes.
Everything is stuck, and you see business networks, blockchains in America. The ownership of Russian groups, they are already struggling. They are negotiating with government how they can survive or how they can get. You see, the owner of Chelsea, he already he has decided to
Wanted to sell it, yes.
yes, sell it, and the money will go to for Ukrainian people. So
Yes.
these people, they are Russian. Maybe they are very patriotic, but they are not loving their and they are in a fixed position. So there are so many consequences about sanction, about economic reality, about aftermath of this war and imposed war, imposed invasion of Mr. Putin.
One final question, Litan Bhai, this is, Ukraine wants to join European Union and also wants to join the Western Defense Alliance like NATO, but Kremlin will not have it. In the current circumstances, of course not. Do you think that it is possible, despite this, that they will be able to join EU to save lives, and will they be accepted by NATO to provide them the air cover they want?
Yeah, I think after this imposed aggression, imposed invasion, the elected leader of Ukraine, he already revised his position, and he was a bit shaky about this issue because he wants to save his people. And about NATO, nowadays after Warsaw, NATO, the necessity of NATO is under question. So, and I salute to Donald Trump, though he is a mad guy, but still he was saying these words. What is the necessity of the NATO?
We will take off that mad thing.
Yeah, quote unquote, whatever it is. Because still he's saying that Putin is smart, and he's questioning his American leaders' role in this war. Whatever it is, what I'm saying, that what is the necessity of the NATO? That is also under question. It should need to be revised by the Western leaders. But at the same time, invasion, aggression, nowadays it is unacceptable, and it's remind us the behavior of Adolf Hitler is unacceptable. That is the issue. But about NATO, already Ukrainian elected political leaders, they are revising their position, and they are already in the peace table. But where is the Putin's positive role? There is no positive role. He's always he's aggressive and aggressive and aggressive. So I think world and Western powers, they need to do something more and more effective.
Okay.
Beside
Just
economic
one
sanctions.
question to Dr. Kannan. Dr. Kannan, are you there?
Yes.
There are reports that people say that Mr. Putin is not well. Let's say, let's get your response on that. How do you see him?
Yes, that is. I have also seen some news, and one of the news came from Japan. Some of my colleagues working in university, and they say that he is under different treatment, and one is the Parkinson's disease, and also in cancer treatment. But I can't verify that because I sent this to my Russian some of academics. I have got collaboration, and they have published some of my paper in their university website as well. But he's reading a lot of nowadays Omar Khayyam.
Okay.
He's reading Omar
Okay,
Khayyam.
Dr. Kannan, we have come to the last bit. We have to say goodbye. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, Litan Bhai, for
Thank you.
coming along and sharing your very candid views about this current situation. We hope that we will tomorrow and tonight there will be a peace and a peaceful world, and war will be a forgotten world. Thank you very much for being with us, and we hope that you've enjoyed the show as much as we have. Bye for now.